Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanisms in two different Pandemic games, Pandemic Rising Tide and Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. Why am I talking about them in the same video? Because the two mechanisms are very similar to one another, although they kind of complement each other, even though they're in different games. Pandemic Rising Tide is a game that I played for the first time about a week ago, and the real highlight of it for me was that the goal of the game was to build these 4 different hydraulic structures. In base Pandemic, when you complete those goals, those are like curing the 4 diseases, you don't actually get a reward right away for doing that. The reward is that you are closer to winning the game. But in Pandemic Rising Tide, whenever you build one of those hydraulic structures, you get an instant powerful bonus. You feel powerful right away when you complete one of the goals. And I love this. I love that when the game, when you do something that the game wants you to do to win the game, that you get to feel really good about it. You don't just feel like, oh, we got a little bit closer to winning. You actually feel powerful right away in Pandemic Rising Tide when you build one of those hydraulic structures. And they're different. There's a different ability for each hydraulic structure. So if you have any, usually you don't have a lot of control over which one you build first. It's just based on the cards that you have in hand and how you've sorted them out among the various players. But if there is some semblance of choice, then you can choose the one at the right time to maximize the benefit. On the other side of things is Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, where you are basically trying to prevent the old ones, the great old ones, from breaking out into the world. That's what progresses you towards the end of the game, if these great old ones break out. And the cool thing about Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, my favorite mechanism in this, which is kind of the opposite of the hydraulic structures, which move you towards winning, is that in Reign of Cthulhu, whenever the big bad thing happens, which can happen, I think it's 6 or 7 times over the course of the game, when a great old one actually breaks loose into the world, you reveal a new great old one card that has a new really bad ability. And I think it's been a while since I played it, but for the most part, they're either one bad thing that happens right away, or I think many of them are ongoing bad things that make the game more difficult for you. So this is kind of the opposite. Usually in cooperative games, I like when you feel more and more powerful throughout the game, like with the hydraulic structures. But the Reign of Cthulhu old ones really add a nice twist. They add a nice twist to the puzzle of the game because they throw something new at you every game in a different order because they're going to come out. They're somewhat unavoidable to have at least a few of them come out. To have this new puzzly element added to the game where you can no longer do this, or it's a little harder to do this, or this one bad thing happens right away. And you don't know what's coming. You flip up that card and reveal it at the moment where the old one breaks loose. I really, really like that. So both of these are somewhat about variability. Variability in terms of the bonuses that you get when you build a hydraulic structure in Rising Tide, and the variability of the different order and the powers that come out through the great old ones in Reign of Cthulhu. If you have a favorite mechanism in a Pandemic variant or spin-off, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you have a favorite mechanism in either Rising Tide or Reign of Cthulhu, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks.